Thank you, everyone. Before I share my presidential remarks with you, I would like to share with you a little bit about my journey that led me here with you, and I hope you enjoy this personal slideshow. ACOFP 23. I want to talk about that number 23 for a few minutes. If you know anything about basketball, you will know this famous legacy number of one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Do you know who I'm talking about? That's right, Michael Jordan, who is most famous for his legacy with the Chicago Bulls. Michael Jordan left behind an indelible mark on the sports by winning 6 NBA championships, 5 MVP. He also broke 10 scoring records during his career, and while some of his records were broken by others, there are some records that experts believe will probably never, ever be broken. Michael Jordan played 15 seasons in the NBA, mostly with the Chicago Bulls, and played his last game with the Washington Wizards in 2003, 20 years ago. 20 years has passed, and yet just about every basketball fan in the world knows about Michael Jordan's legacy. The other day, I was watching his 2009 Hall of Fame induction speech, which was about 20 minutes, and he spent almost his entire time talking about the coaches and the other players that inspired him and shaped him for his accomplishments, and they are part of his legacy story. As we think about Michael Jordan's legacy, I want to ask you, what will be your legacy to the osteopathic profession? How will you be remembered 10 years from now, 15, 20 years from now? Will you be remembered as someone who contributed to the advancement of our profession, and specifically our organization, the ACOFP? Will you be remembered as someone who left a lasting impact on someone else in our organization? Well, let me share with you a story that began for me 17 years ago. The year was 2006. I was 35 years old, and I attended my very first National Osteopathic Convention because I started working for a new College of Osteopathic Medicine in Nevada. And I figured I better start going to some osteopathic conferences. You see, before I moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, I lived in New York for over 30 years, and I did my residency at Jamaica Hospital Medical Center in Queens. And it was only a handful of the duly accredited family medicine programs in New York, and it was much more heavily influenced by the ACGME than it was by the AOA. And that was mostly because the program was an affiliate of the Mount Sinai School of Medicine at that time. Anyway, after my residency, I stayed on as faculty for 4 years, and therefore all of my CME and professional activities were done with the AAFP and also the STFM, and that is why I was the fellow of the AAFP first. It was not until 2006, that year, when I attended my very first osteopathic convention, and it was an ACOFP convention in Grapevine, Texas. That was the year Dr. Tom Told was installed as president. And I remember going to his presidential reception, and I stood on line to meet him and shake his hand. And little did I know at that time that we would work together again in the future. First, as co-chairs for the 2010 ACOFP Annual Convention in Las Vegas, and then again in 2015 when he hired me to be his vice dean at Rocky Vista University College of Osteopathic Medicine. But I will admit to you that the ACOFP convention that I attended in 2006 and the one that I attended in the following year, in 2007, was a bit lonely for me. I really didn't know anyone, so I wandered around the convention halls and attended CME lectures and attended those events all by myself. It was not until my third convention that I became engaged and involved with the ACOFP. The year was 2008. We were in Denver, and Dr. Ronnie Martin was being installed as the president. And at that time, I convinced my good friend, Dr. Chang An, who is watching virtually online, hello, Chang, to go with me to that ACOFP convention because he was my associate program director in Las Vegas. We both didn't know anyone. And so on that first night, we went out to dinner together. And after dinner, we came back to the hotel. We're walking through the lobby to get to the elevator. So I had noticed two distinguished-looking gentlemen with white hair sitting at a table enjoying some after-hour drinks. Well, when these two men saw our ACOFP convention badges hanging from our neck, they waved us over, said, "Come on over here." So Chang and I timidly walked over, and they introduced themselves to us as part of the ACOFP family. And they offered us to buy us some drinks. So we happily obliged, gratefully, and they asked us about our stories. So that evening, we made our very first friends in the ACOFP. That was Dr. Jim Freilich and Dr. Ray Stowers. And ever since then, every time I would see them in the convention hall or in the hallways, I would say hi, they would say hi, and they would introduce me to other ACOFP members. Between the two of them, it seemed that they knew just about every distinguished ACOFP person that was walking around with a crest on their jacket. And I'll tell you, that was the start of my leadership journey in ACOFP, and really was the catalyst for me being up here on this stage as president. I am part of their legacy. I believe that each and every one of us has the ability to create a legacy story like this. While we may not leave a legacy like Michael Jordan, I believe we all have something to contribute to our profession and to this organization that can be long-lasting, even after that we are gone. I'm going to borrow a famous quote from John F. Kennedy's 1961 inaugural address. When he told the American people, "Ask not what the country can do for you, ask what you can do for the country." And I want to reframe those famous quotes and say to you, ask not what the ACOFP can do for you, but what you can do for the ACOFP, specifically the membership, your colleagues. As members of the ACOFP, I believe we have a responsibility to each other and to our patients to work together to advance the ACOFP and our profession. This means taking an active role, volunteering our time, our expertise and experience, and working together to achieve our goals together. As each of you think about how you can do this, I have two things that I would like to ask all of you to do now at this convention. Two things. One, be like Dr. Freilich and Dr. Stowers and introduce yourself to someone you don't know. You never know. They may be here all alone like I was during those first two conventions. But even if they're not alone, I'm sure they'll be happy to make a new friend because we're all members of the same specialty college. And also, if you don't know me and you don't know the board members or the fellows that are walking around with a crest, please find an opportunity to come up to us and say hello. We love engaging with our members. That's number one. Introduce yourself to somebody. Number two, identify a student, a resident, a young physician, and support their growth in their profession and in ACOFP. All it takes is just talking to them and showing an interest in their success. I would not be here without the encouragement of support of many of the people in our organization who introduced me to other people, who introduced me to role models and mentors. If you do one or both of these two things this week, not only would I be extremely grateful, but you will be part of my legacy because you will be actively helping me achieve one of my top goals as president this year, and that is to increase membership engagement and continue the growth of the legacy of the ACOFP. Because now and into the future, you are our legacy. Thank you very much.